Alright, it already looks a little busy on the screen. I don't think I'm going to erase what's there, but I'll try to highlight, extra highlight it here. So natio est omnis Gallorum is really reminiscent of Book 1, Chapter 1, Gallia est omnis divisa in partes tres. We can see some similarities. So instead of Gallia being the subject, we've got Gallia est omnis, right? We have natio est omnis. The whole nation is our subject, right? The whole nation. And genitives go with the noun closest to them. The whole nation of the Gauls is. Right? So natio and omnis describes natio, Gallorum goes with natio as well. The omnis natio Gallorum is what, right? And natio, eonus nouns are always feminine, so we're looking for something, a feminine adjective maybe to describe it, is dedita, is ad modum, it's an adverb that we haven't seen before, is quite dedita, which is going to take a dative. The forms of do, dare are typically explained pretty well by the, explain the datives next to them pretty well. So is dedita to religionibus. Aquae, ob eam causum, prepositional phrase, ob takes the accusative case, right? And ob eam causum, the qui here doesn't have an antecedent, so I'm just going to assume it's like those who, like an ei qui. Those who sunt affecti, right? Affecti describes qui, nominative plural, just like dedita described natio, and so did omnis. Those who sunt affecti, and affecti looks like it means affected or afflicted. It needs an ablative, right? Like by what? So by gravioribus morbis. So one group of people, those who sunt affecti by gravioribus morbis, and another group of people, those who in proeliis and periculis were saunter, those who are where sauntered in, another prepositional phrase, in through the ablative, those who are where sauntered in proeliis and periculis. And then we get out pro victimis homines immolant, out se immolaturas vovent. This looks like I'm back to my main clause. Okay. So the natio is dedita to religionibus, and for this reason, these people, is my implied subject. Those people who blah 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 and who blah blah blah, what do they do? What do those people who blah 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 do? They either pro victimis homines immolant, they either immolant, which is my verb, homines, object, pro victimis, pro plus the ablative in place of, is either immolant homines, as or in place of victimis, or, conjunction, connecting like things, right, or they wowent, se immolaturos, and I should recognize that as accusative infinitive immolaturos esse, where they wowent that se immolaturos esse. And, connecting like things, and what else do? They utunter, which is a puffy verb, so I know it takes an ablative, right, my puffy verbs, takes an ablative object, so I'm looking back, oh, okay, they utuntur administris, ad ea sacrificia, ad plus the accusative case, prepositional phrase, they utuntur, and I'm like, okay, I got administris and I got druidibus when I ignore my prepositional phrase here. So it's both, or like they're kind of going together, and ad ea sacrificia, ad here meaning at is probably the best translation, at ea sacrificia, they utuntur druidibus, maybe as their administris, they utuntur, druidibus as administris, as their administris. Full stop. Quod doesn't have an antecedent here. Could be id quod, or it could be a because. So let's give that a shot. Because pro vita hominis, nisi hominis vita redatur. I've got this nisi, which is introducing a subordinate clause. It's not the first word in the subordinate clause, but it does continue all the way to redatur. So I just want to point out that this clause, it's like a conditional clause. If, right? If not, right? if subject, vita, which has a genitive next to it, if the vita of a hominis is not redatored in place of the vita of a hominis. So that's my condition. If that doesn't happen, non possedeorum immortalium numen placari arbitranter. There's my verb, right? My main verb. They think, which is going to explain these accusatives and infinitives before in this indirect statement. They think that the accusative, numen, which has a genitive next to it, the numen of the deorum immortalium, and this is the infinitive going with it, is not able, which explains another infinitive. Posse happens to take an additional infinitive, right? Is not able to be placaried. If you thought that numen was your accusative and placari was your infinitive, then you wouldn't, but you got two infinitives, and if I don't have an and, one is the indirect statement infinitive, the other one must be complementary to the first. So posse always comes before other infinitives. So the numen of deorum immortalium is non posse, this one's just a normal infinitive, to be placaried. Passive infinitive, but still an infinitive. Okay, and so they arbitranter this, and what else do? They habent, that's my verb. They habent, I need a direct object. They habent instituta sacrificia. And I have a genitive, so that's going with this object, right? Instituta sacrificia. And then I have an adverb. And adverbs can either go with verbs or they can go with adjectives. So I can try both. They publicly habent instituta sacrificia of eustem generis, or I could put my adverb with an adjective, such as instituta. I mean, it's a participle, but that's a verbal adjective. So I could try this. And they habent publicly instituta sacrificia of eustem generis. Right? So two options on how I do that. Full stop. Alii, imani magnitudine simulacra habent. Imani might look like it goes with alii, but I should know that it's a third declension adjective, so it's in the ablative case. Imani magnitudine is like brevi tempore. Okay, so nominative subject, and then this ablative imani magnitudine, and then simulacra, which is definitely going to be accusative then. If alii was my subject, this must be my direct object and then a verb. So some people habent simulacra object. This looks like an ablative description. Simulacra of imani magnitudine. Quorum, starting off a relative clause. Need a verb through complement. So my relative clause starts with quorum. Whose, so it's not the subject. So I've got some other grammar going on inside my relative clause here. I don't see a subject. Membra could be nominative plural, or it could be accusative plural. Limbs probably aren't the subject of anything, so they're probably the direct object. And then complement would make sense as containing my subject and being my verb. Whose membra, and it's got a participial phrase. And whenever you have a noun and a participle describing it, just go ahead and connect them all, right? That your participial phrase connects something there's typically a participle and then something in between and then the noun. And the noun could come first and then something in between and then the participle, but it all goes together, right? So whose membra, having been contexted with womenibus, they complement, and then another ablative, with vivis hominibus. Oh. Quibus secensis. Quibus is looks like it's a relative clause, kind of. I mean, it is a qui quod form, but quibus secensis, kind of a pronoun in the ablative case and a participle in the ablative case, is actually serving here as an ablative absolute, with which, having been secensised, right? And then the rest of my sentence is grammatically separate from it. Homines, having, right, connecting all my participle all the way to my noun. Homines, having been circumvented by flamma, here's what they do. Those homines exonimanter, which is a really beautiful word. I mean, it's kind of tragic, but it's a beautiful word. They ex anima, right? Their living spirit. Ex. It's got cool etymology for what it means. Cool. Next sentence, supplicia eorum. And supplicia could be the subject. Supplies of those. We get a relative clause. Eorum qui through sint comprehensi. Sint could be a verb, but sint comprehensi is definitely a perfect passive subjunctive together. And then I continue my main clause, gratiora dis immortalibus esse. So this esse is an infinitive, and there's an arbitransor here at the end. This must be an infinitive, and this must then be an accusative. Right, so that, from supplicia, skipping the qui, although the qui could be inside of it, but through esse here is an indirect statement. The arbitransor, that supplicia of eorum, are gratiora, right, it's an equal sign, and this is another accusative, are gratiora, and then so this must be dative. With gratiora, or gratiora to the dis immortalibus. And I'll throw my relative clause in after the eorum, right? They think that supplicia of eorum, qui, in furto, out in latrocinio, out aliqua noxia, some other noxia, sint comprehend, those who, subject, have been comprehensied in any of these things, are gratiora to the dis immortalibus, full stop. Said, but, and then a cum clause with an indicative verb. So when, subject, verb, when a copia, it's got a genitive with it, when a copia of eus generis, they fake it, they even descendon, right, putting my adverb with my verb, to, which takes the accusative, to supplicia, and then this genitive in the middle goes with it, right? To supplicia of innocentium. Dun, dun, dun.